Donald Trump said last week that he'll announce his SCOTUS pick, first SCOTUS pick at least, within 2 weeks of taking office. And Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who refused to give President Obama's pick, Merrick Garland, a confirmation hearing last year, turned heads earlier this month with this stern warning for Democrats.
I noticed my counterpart, Senator Schumer, announced yesterday that their goal was to apparently never fill the Supreme Court vacancy. That's kind of an expansion of the Biden rule. You recall the Biden rule in 1992 was the Senate would not confirm a Supreme Court nominee in the middle of a presidential election year, which was my view last year. Senator Schumer said in the second Bush administration that they would not confirm a Supreme Court nominee in the last 18 months of President Bush 43's tenure. Apparently there's yet a new standard now, which is to not confirm a Supreme Court nominee at all. I think that's something the American people simply will not tolerate, and we'll be looking forward to receiving a Supreme Court nomination and moving forward on it.
Here to talk about what to expect for the Supreme Court in the days ahead is Bloomberg Supreme Court ace reporter Greg Stohr. Greg, we're going to get something from Trump here in the next couple weeks, we believe. Is there a short list? He had a long list during the campaign. Is there now a short list, and who's on it?
There is a short list. He and his aides have varyingly said it's 4 people, 5 people, 6 people. We don't know exactly who is on it. We can be pretty sure that Bill Pryor and Dianne Sykes, 2 federal appeals court judges who he mentioned in the campaign by name, that they are on the list. And then there's a handful of other people that certainly meet the criteria and would make many of the people who backed Donald Trump very happy to have them on the Supreme Court.
Greg, this list was one of the things Trump did that was very concrete and somewhat unusual in order to reassure people on the right. What's the range, if you took them, lined them up from the most conservative to the most moderate? Is there a big range here? Or are they all basically in the same center-right, Justice Roberts basically tradition, or Scalia tradition, but all the way on the right?
Yeah, I think it's varying shades of quite conservative. I think most of these people will be to the right of John Roberts. It would be a disappointment to many people, many conservatives, if he nominated another John Roberts. In fact, what you hear conservative advocates say, and these are the people he's listening to, or certainly that he's talking to, they say, we want to make sure that this nominee has the courage of his or her conviction, unlike what John Roberts did in the Obamacare case. So we're going to get somebody very conservative.
So Mitch McConnell and Senate Republicans thwarted Barack Obama's desire to put Merrick Garland, a pretty centrist, a little left of center, but a pretty centrist justice on the court last year, upset Democrats mightily in doing that. Now you got Chuck Schumer saying, turnabout's fair play on this thing, guys. We might never give you a hearing or give you a confirmed Supreme Court justice. Mitch McConnell firing back on that. This is going to be a big fight, right? What's likely to happen, just in terms of the battle lines are drawn here. We don't have a nominee yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a big fight. The big difference, though, is that Mitch McConnell had a majority of the Senate and Chuck Schumer doesn't. There's an excellent chance that the Democrats will filibuster this nominee, whoever he or she is. And there's an equally excellent chance that the Republicans will do what they call the nuclear option and eliminate the filibuster so that they can, with a simple majority vote, get their person on the Supreme Court. And part of the reason is that we're probably not just talking about this nomination. It's very likely Donald Trump will have at least one more while he's president and with a Republican majority Senate. And so Republicans want to make sure they can get that person on as well.
Yeah, Greg, can't say it often enough. This is a replacement for the late Justice Scalia. I don't think there's anybody on that list more conservative than Scalia, because I don't know that that's possible. But it's not going to move the court. The court will be where it was in its original. Are there votes, assuming it's someone who is not as far right as Scalia, are there issues on which someone who's very, very conservative but actually might vote differently than Scalia? Or is everyone on that list likely to vote pretty much exactly as Scalia would vote?
There will certainly be some issues. In fact, I could probably come up with a few issues where the person might be more conservative than Scalia, who on some criminal law issues would often surprise people and vote with the liberals, and that may not be the case for his successor. There's really not a whole lot of room. I mean, I would be surprised if anybody Donald Trump nominates, votes to strike down abortion restrictions or votes to allow significant gun restrictions, for example, there's not going to be a whole lot of room to the lay eye or even the expert eye between Scalia and his successor, I think.
I don't want to be too morbid about this, but you mentioned the notion that there's likely to be at least one more replacement that Trump will have. There are a variety of reasons in which that vacancy could arise. In terms of the handicapping down there in Washington, who's the next likely justice to leave the court of their own volition?
Well, of course, health is something that is hard to predict. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is 83. Everybody is watching her, certainly. In terms of a retirement, apart from health, the person everybody's watching is Anthony Kennedy. He's long told his clerks he would like a Republican to replace him. We think of Kennedy as being in the middle because he often does vote with the liberals. But, if he does indeed want a Republican to replace him, and he is 80 years old as well, there has been, he was slow in hiring his clerks for the next term, suggesting to many people that he was at least thinking about retiring. He will certainly be somebody everybody watches every single year at the end of the term to see whether or not he's going to retire.
Greg, the list that the president-elect put out got very favorable reception on Capitol Hill amongst conservative interest groups of all stripes. Are there ones that people are pushing? If you ask Mitch McConnell or Chuck Grassley or other prominent senators on the Republican side, are there favorites up there from that list that they would like to see nominated?
Yeah, I think everybody has their favorites. One connection to keep an eye on is that I mentioned Bill Pryor, and he is perhaps the most in-your-face kind of nominee that Trump could make. He is somebody who has called Roe v. Wade the worst abomination in the history of constitutional law. Well, he is very close to Jeff Sessions, the nominee to be Attorney General. Sessions was Bill Pryor's mentor in the Alabama Attorney General's office. So, and the two of them are close. So one can certainly expect that he has a very key backer there, and he fits the demographics perfectly. He's 54, long track record of conservatism, and he would certainly be very enthusiastically greeted by the folks at the Federalist Society and the Heritage Foundation.
Greg, do you have a sense, just on the basis of the list, as Mark said, the list that Trump put out was very helpful to him politically. Is there a sense, do conservatives believe that Donald Trump cares about the Supreme Court?
I'm not sure that they do, but I'm not sure that it matters that much. From everybody I talked to, they believe him that he's going to stick to this list, and it really did make a difference to them in supporting his candidacy. Ultimately, what matters is who he nominates, not whether he personally cares about, what happens to Roe v. Wade or what happens to the Second Amendment. They just want to see the results.